We've got another chapter of Eden Zero in the books, and we're just gonna jump right into it today. So, starting off right where we left off in chapter 2, we're opening with Shiki and Rebecca starting off in the Adventurers Guild, again where we left off at the end of chapter 2. And I'm gonna do something. I'm gonna try putting up some screenshots that I took of the chapter just to kind of give you guys some visual reference. I'm hoping there's not going to be any kind of copyright against that. If there is, then this will be a purely experimental review and recap of this chapter, and we'll cut it out for the next one. But if it works, then we'll continue it. So anyways, again, in the Adventurers Guild, and this is taken a little bit different than the guilds that we know from Fairy Tail, and like I'll have in the picture here, it kind of reminds me of almost like the stock market, kind of like the big open area where they're exchanging stocks, buying. You have the big thing in the center with all the information, and like I said in the picture, you'll kind of get what I'm saying. And after that, I'm going to kind of reference the screenshots I have over here on my other screen. After that happens, we're greeted with a new character, Clarissa, I believe it's gonna be Clarice, that's how I'd pronounce it. And she's kind of like the I'd call her almost like the Mira Jane of this guild. Like, she kind of runs the place, and she's friends with Rebecca, and she's a little over emotional. Nothing too serious, just kind of a character trait. But she's the one that's gonna kind of facilitate Shiki becoming an adventurer and get him his ID. And there's a little tidbit about how he doesn't really have credentials or any papers like that, so I'm wondering if that's gonna come into play or if they're just kind of throwing that out there to talk about it. Anyways, after that we get a bit of a more information along the lines of the big giant woman that we saw floating in space in the first chapter, and apparently that is what they call Mother, right? So she's like this big overseeing god outside of the Sakura cosmos that no one has ever seen, but when Shiki sees her, because they have her projected inside this guild for everybody to kind of marvel at as they go about their days, Shiki's kind of like, oh shoot, I think I've met her before, just nonchalantly, and everybody kind of starts to laugh at him and make these jokes, and it's kind of almost a sad little scene in this chapter where it looks like they're almost making fun of Shiki, and because he kind of just like sees them talking to him, he's just like, oh, you guys want to be friends, and they're laughing and making fun of him. So, but after that, we are introduced to yet another new character, and one that's more of an antagonist than anything. I'll have her on screen, but this is Lavilla. She's got an interesting name, but it is Lavilla, and she is supposed to be like top B-cuber in this world, in this guild, and she's kind of got this sort of rivalry, but almost like domination over Rebecca in this the world of B-cubing. And Rebecca, you see later, she has a bit of respect for Lavilla, but she also hates her with a passion, just because, you know, this girl's kind of a bitch. If you read the chapter, you'll see. And there's a moment where just kind of what she says, like telling Rebecca that she should retire and her videos suck, makes her cry, and Shiki actually kind of uses his ether gear and throws her up in the air, and she's like, oh shit, something's going down, and nothing too big on action, but just kind of there, and then she says, Lavilla kind of has this moment where she's like, oh my god, I gotta have that guy in my next video. So I'm sure that's gonna come into play later on in another chapter. But as for other things that happen in this chapter, there isn't much. This is a very short chapter. It's only 31 pages, maybe even just 30, I think, if you kind of take away the extra pages that are in there. Then it cuts to a scene. They're in a restaurant talking about some stuff, and my favorite part from this chapter, because there's not a whole lot in here, there are various nods in here that Hiro Mashima makes to Fairy Tail. I know at the start there's a moment where you kind of see characters that look like Levi and Jet kind of sitting around in the back, and then there's even a moment where they're sitting there and Shiki's kind of like, you know, I thought people would be they'd be a lot more friendly here and more like a family, and Rebecca's kind of like, yeah, I think they already made a manga about that. and you actually, Hiro Mashima drew Natsu and Lucy kind of walking in the background, which is really cool. I haven't really read many mangas before, but I love if that's kind of a recurring thing. I love that in this. I love when creators make nods to their older works and kind of pay almost a bit of fan service to us fans that have been following series of the past, which is really nice. But after that, the only other thing that really happens is it cuts to a scene. Oh, geez, I almost forgot. The big next step in their adventure is Shiki decides that they need to make a greater video to kind of outdo La Villa by going to meet Mother. So that's kind of where they're taking off to go, and there's not a whole lot that gets explained after he says that. They just kind of go find a new ship, and that's all there is to it. Other than that, we see the final scene of this chapter is Elsie Crimson landing on here with her whole crew on Blue Garden, and they're looking for Shiki, and they show up at the Adventurers Guild, show his picture to Clarice, and she's kind of like, I don't really know. She kind of lies to him, but Elsie hears people talking in the background and finds out that they're going to Planet River, I believe is what it's called. River, maybe, is how you pronounce it. I'm not too sure. But it is revealed that Elsie and her crew are considered to be space pirates to everybody else on this planet, and I guess maybe in this world. So that's going to be something interesting to see. We now know that she's not just a princess, but also a pirate, and space pirates are pretty dope. So that's the quick recap. Quick, I guess. Looking at my timer, I'm at 7 minutes, so maybe I could have gone a little faster. But now we're going to move on, just kind of my thoughts about this chapter, and well, they'll probably be pretty quick, because honestly, like I said, short chapter, not a whole lot happens. I did really like how Hiro Mashima threw in all those nods to Fairy Tail there. I thought that it was an interesting and touching moment in like where I was talking about with Shiki, and he was kind of getting made fun of. I think that adds a lot of emotion and kind of more empathy for the characters in this, so you're not just kind of looking at him like a shonen badass, but you also see that he has these he doesn't really pick up on social cues, I guess. And it'll be really cool to see how Shiki develops throughout the series, making friends and whatnot. Other than that, we got a couple new characters introduced, probably going to be some bigger players, and again, just kind of setting up this arc that's going to come out. Probably going to be our first arc here with Elsie Crimson, the space pirates, and Mother. I'm not even sure, because the whole, I'm wondering if the concept of going to meet Mother is going to be almost like the overarching story of Eden Zero, kind of like how the Natsu finding the dragons was the story in Fairy Tail. I wonder if this is going to be like the big picture thing, because this seems like a pretty unattainable mission for the time, and that's going to be kind of what they do, and their side adventures along the way. So I'm thinking that this saga story arc with Elsie is going to be our first big story arc while they're trying to get to visit Mother. Again, short chapter. I'm not going to say that it was my favorite chapter, because we didn't really get any action in there. There wasn't a whole lot of backstory, just a bit more exposition as this is going along. Again, manga chapters each week coming out, they're going to be varying in size and content. So yeah, that's all I got. If you guys read the chapter, let me know down below. Let me know your thoughts. Did you find it as bare bones as I did? Are you excited for chapter 4? And do you like the addition of the screenshots being posted as I go through this? I know that it definitely helps me kind of, I don't know what the word is. It's too late in the day. What's the word? Convey. It helps me convey what I'm speaking about to you guys with a visual aid like that. And yeah, that's about it. Also, new microphone, new audio filters. Let me know if you think it sounds good. I'm playing with things like EQ and noise suppression, but that's besides the point. Thank you guys for watching this recap and review of Chapter 3 of Eden Zero, and I will see you next week.
Hey, thanks for watching. Not many people make it this far, but since you did, how about you drop a like and a comment down below telling me what you thought? And, since we both know you're not doing anything right now, how about you hit subscribe and check out my next video over there? Right there. Just click it. It's right there. Go ahead. I'll wait.